coincide with technology needs.
All right. Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. Wanted to respond to a few things, but before I do that, I really appreciate this opportunity to be here with Seattle Public Schools. I see our mayor, Mike McGinn, is here as well, and I think that we really want to show that we have an interest in hearing from you. I heard people say that this was an opportunity for some open communication, honest dialogue, and we hear you loud and clear. And it's obvious that there's a lot of passion behind your feelings about public education, about your students, about the injustices that you feel that you have endured over the past few years, and actually going back decades, if not centuries. So I really appreciate you pouring your heart out. It's definitely coming from your heart, and these are real emotions that you're expressing. Also, an opportunity to hear the community voices. I am learning about the Native American culture, and I know that the history is a lot of verbal history there. So it's nice to be able to hear people talk about their experiences, their kids, their children's experiences, and then how we might be able to improve on those. It is definitely a rich, long history, especially here in Puget Sound, here in the Northwest. And it's something that we need to be mindful of. It's something that we as a public school system need to be mindful of. And work as hard as we can to embrace the culture, embrace the community, and work collaboratively. So I'll talk a little bit more towards the end of what I have to say about potential next steps. I do want to address some of the things that Sarah mentioned. She mentioned restoring the culture's content of the Native program. Last time, I believe you talked about trying to create a cultural center, that's a really important part of your community, and that's evident here, even just with murals and with the activities, the music, the songs that you have here. It's an important part of your history, an important part of children's education. And so we will be working on that. I don't know how we're going to do that in terms of financing, but I think that we have a plan. I know that Bernardo and Peggy and Veronica, Matt, and some of the other folks from Seattle Public Schools with some ideas on how we may be able to partner with other agencies, potentially the city, and other agencies to figure out a way to do that, to make that happen. Even though these are real difficult economic times, I think that if we put our heads together, we can, and working with you, we can put our heads together and come up with something very creative. So that is a priority for us as well, to figure out how we can do that, whether that ends up being here or another location, central, where folks have access to it. Revitalizing the Indian Heritage Middle College. Again, Sarah was right on with that in terms of where it's at. It definitely has lost its focus. It's lost the support that it had at one time, and it's kind of lost direction. So we are going to look at the Indian Heritage Middle College in the context of all the other programs we have, the other middle colleges, the interagency programs, to see how we can revitalize that, how we can rebuild the Indian Heritage Middle College and make it happen. So it's gone through some neglect, but we are committed to looking at that. Sarah mentioned 4 Native family support workers. Again, that was part of our discussion the other day of how we might be able to reallocate some resources. We think that that's a good way to do it, to come up with some support services that not only support the students, but support the families, the Native American families. And so we're going to continue to do that. We can work with you, Sarah. We can work with other community members to see how we can make that happen. And then you talked about implementing the recently approved Ensuring Educational Racial Equity. That's been a focus from day one. When I walked into the school district, the board passed that very historical policy, and I couldn't agree more with the comment that it's only as good as an action plan that's put behind it, And I made that comment at my first board meeting, I believe, that I said, somebody asked me to comment, I said, it's only as good as what we do with it. It can sit on the shelf and look really good and do nothing. Or we can actually do something with it. And so I'm very proud to say that the folks that are sitting up here have been a big part of making sure we put some action into that, working with our board. to make sure that we implement things that are going to support the community, that are going to not only close the achievement gap for our children, but also close the opportunity gap for our children. And that's a very key goal for us as well. So I look forward to continuing the discussion. Next steps for us is that we're going to work again with community leaders to set up a retreat sometime in January, I believe we said. And what we want to do with that retreat is we want to bring in an outside facilitator, someone that I think that the community will have faith and trust in, that we have faith and trust in. That's a third party that can come in here and bring us together, and let's brainstorm some actual action plans. You know, we heard the concerns, and let's now come up with an action plan that says, here's how we plan to address those concerns. And I think that's what Sarah was asking for. So what are the actions? What can we expect? I said the first time we met that I didn't want this to be a one-time shot meeting to say, let's hear what you have to say, and then we go away, and you go away, and then things remain the same. We really are focused on making a change and being able to support our Native American community and making sure that we reverse the trend of our Native American students who not only are not keeping pace, but are falling behind, even further behind. And so we need to make sure that we concentrate our resources and our ideas and our collective thoughts to make sure we support our students to be successful, to reach that district goal of being prepared for college, career, and for life. And with that, I'm going to now hand it over to Mayor Mike McGinn. I really appreciate him being here on short notice. You have to know, we just invited him, I think, Friday of last week, and he was able to adjust some things to be here tonight. And he also feels the same commitment to the Native American community and working together with the city, with community leaders. I think that we can make a difference in the lives of our children. Mayor.